So today I want to introduce you to a good friend of mine, somebody that I consider probably one of the smartest men I've ever met in my life, maybe the smartest person I've ever met in my life, and you'll find out here in a few minutes why that is, and that is my good friend Tom Ellsworth, which we have a lot of history together. You'll find out in a few minutes why that is. So Tom, before we get into this, the reason why I'm interviewing Tom, so you find out who Tom is, Tom will start doing a show on Fridays, which he'll do case studies, and case studies, which we'll get into it. He's going to take different companies and he'll do case studies. And because a lot of times as an entrepreneur, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do the how-tos. When I do Valuetainment, I'm giving you my episodes. Monday, we have Monday Motivation. I think it's very, very important for you. Some of you guys saw that one episode we did with Twitter. Is Twitter the next MySpace? And some people say, can we get more things like this? Tom's going to be doing a lot of those case studies where you'll see inversion, what some of these mistakes these companies made that you don't need to make, and what things they did right that can help you take your business to the next level. So before we get into the case studies, I want to have you find out a little bit more about Tom. So Tom, before PHP, you are now president with us, and we're involved with a couple different exciting projects together. Your biggest hit after Sprint, you would say, you got involved and you joined the founders at Jamdat, where at Jamdat, you guys ended up selling Jamdat a few years later in 2004 to EA Sports for $680 million. So why don't you take a few minutes and tell us a little about your background. Take a minute and tell us a little about your background, how this whole thing led into Jamdat and then all these other companies you've started, CEO of GoTV. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, it's a real simple story. I got a marketing degree in college. From there, I went to work at LA Cellular, like the first cellular phone company in Los Angeles, third in the United States, and I got hooked on early stage companies that were doing something big. From there, I was at a company called California Amplifier that provided components to DirecTV, another thing going big. From there...
This is before there was DirecTV?
Yeah, I was at California Amplifier working on satellite dishes before there was DirecTV,
Wow.
and the small dish was a revolution. Lucky to be part of that. From there, I got a call back from one of the guys I'd worked with early. Went to Sprint, and Sprint Long Distance Company had a startup division that would today be what we know as Sprint Wireless.
Didn't you start the unlimited plan with Sprint or something like that? Like this is the founder of the unlimited plan with, if you remember those days that we used to talk free after 9 p.m. and you had to wait till was it after 9 p.m. or whatever
That's
it was?
Right. Peak off peak. Remember
Peak off,
those days?
oh my God. So you made it unlimited.
Yeah, we introduced a new rate plan with the launch of Sprint that I was part of that was just fabulous. People loved it because it simplified
Well, I
use.
just want to thank you on behalf of 319 million people living in America. That was a great program, Tom.
Well, it was. It also took a lot of profit out of the wireless industry, and I was a marked man. So it's like, but the consumer got a good deal, and in the end, so did the wireless industry.
We're happy.
There you go.
Thank you, Tom.
And from there, Sprint was investing in small companies through an incubator project because they knew what was coming. They knew that phones would be doing this and that. And,
Sure.
And I managed that incubator for them, and we made an investment in a little company called Jamdat Mobile that was the first games for wireless phones.
So, Tom, let me get this straight. Jamdat. I mean, I know about Jamdat because we just talked about
Yeah.
it. There was no games on phones before you guys invented the first games on phones.
The founders of Jamdat had a vision to put them on phones and a vision that phones would be so much more than what they were, and they were right.
Unbelievable. And today it's obviously. So what happened with Jamdat?
What happened with Jamdat, one of the first games, Jamdat Bowling, over 2 years, 2 million people played it. And you would go places and people were playing
Can you
Jamdat
imagine
Bowling.
before there's any games on phones, 2 million people download the app.
That's exactly right. Download the game. And we did really, really well. And one of the companies that had originally said, games won't be played on phones. You need a PlayStation or a Game Boy or an Xbox in your living room. That's how you play games, was Electronic Arts. And Electronic
Sure.
Arts sometime later would...
EA Sports, right?
EA
It's in the
Sports.
game.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Yeah, you got to get that right.
You gotta get that right. Well, one day there was a knock at the door and it was EA Sports. We have a check, right? And it was a little under $700 million.
Were you guys expecting that amount?
No,
I mean, I know sometimes we like to, of course. Did you actually think you're going to get a $700 million check?
No, I think we just wanted to build a great company and we're focused on doing that.
That's so important. Maybe we can touch up on that because so many times people tell me they want to build they go more for the dollar amount instead of building a great company, instead of focusing on what you got to do and then eventually get the check. So you guys get the $700 million check. What happens next?
What happens next is I worked with a couple publishing initiatives, Premier Digital Publishing. We had great success with that, helping authors get to Kindles and to Nooks and things like that. And then ultimately, I meet you, as I'm still looking at great ideas that can go big, and the idea that you had for PHP really struck me because it was all the things that I love, taking great ideas, disrupting old industries, and going big.
That's exciting, and Tom's I work with Tom on a daily basis. So we brought you in as a advisory board, and I want to say in 2009 or 2010, we brought you in as 2010 advisory board, and then August of 15, you became the president, and then obviously we're doing other things as well, which is exciting. But Tom, so that's great. Now, all your companies that you've sold in your career, what's the total amount sale? If there's a number you can tie it to, what is the total amount of sales? All the companies.
Well, the companies I've been involved with sold grand total about $1.1 billion.
This is with a B.
With a B.
$1.1 billion. Unbelievable. Okay. And so your background, you go from that, you went to college, you go into all these industries. You've worked in some companies from complete different industries that maybe whether it's long distance to technology to gaming to publishing to all this stuff. What is it that you are so turned on and attracted to startups? Why startups? Why not you come out of college, what do they tell you? Work for the Big Four. Go work for the biggest companies in the world. What made you want to go work with startups? Because it can be scary sometimes. What turns you on to startups?
Well, it was really a perspective I got early in my career. I had an internship with IBM in sales when I was in college, and they taught you a lot of skills. But what was really interesting about that first company, LA Cellular, I was working at, was you understood the consequence of decisions. And you understood that, hey, we're making decisions today that matter, that are moving the company forward. And I said, that's where I want to be. I want to be making decisions that matter and move the company forward and doing new things in old industries that were big and national. That just meant there was a bigger target and it was a bigger market, and those things resonated. And that's where that touched me earlier in my career, and I haven't let go of it.
Wow. So, one thing most people don't know about my daughter's name is Senna, right? Her name is Senna, and I have Senna's painting over there, back there. I'm a diehard Senna fan. Most people don't know, but Tom introduced me to Ayrton Senna. We have a big following from Brazil that follow the content here, and they know I'm a big Senna fan. You're a big Formula One guy, How did you get into Formula One? How did you get into liking Formula One? And, now your passion for where you and your wife get up early, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to watch it. I mean, you guys are like, you're not just a regular guy. You fully follow everything. 'Cause I get the polls, Nico got number 2 pole, and then, Lewis Hamilton broke the record because he did this. Why Formula One? Why such a big passion for that sport?
Well, I think it goes with having a passion for technology startups or a passion for technology.
Really?
Yeah, because in Formula One you have all these teams. The rules change a little bit every year, and people are designing these cars. They don't buy those race cars. The team designs the car, and they apply new technologies. There are technologies that start at Formula One that are in your car today. And it just was inspiring to see all the technological stuff that goes into that. And then at the end of the day, you got to put a driver in it. You got to put a human in it. They're not robots. And there's a joke in Formula One that says, I can tune the engine, I can adjust the wings, but there's nothing I can do to tighten the nut behind the wheel. And that is just the truth. And it's seeing people like Senna who were geniuses and seeing people that were great car designers. And so I like it for both sides. The passion and the accomplishment of the great drivers, as well as the great teams that change the game.
So Tom, okay, that's great. I know that. Now here's a question for you. Who are the top 5? I got to put you on the spotlight.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute. Top 5 greatest Formula One drivers of all time. I know you've interviewed. We've met a lot of them. You and I went to Italy together. We went to the Ferrari headquarters, all that stuff. You're a big Enzo guy. But tell me the top 5 greatest of all time.
So the top 5, and I have a hard time putting these in order, but...
Get it right, Tom.
I think at number 5, you've got Jackie Stewart. What he did in the 70s was just incredible. And then number 4, that I've got at number 4, I think without a doubt, is Alain Prost. He was a professor.
You put him at number 4.
I do put him at number 4. And then number 3, I've got Juan Manuel Fangio. And I've got Schumacher at number 2. Schumacher's statistics 91 victories. Come on. I mean, it's just incredible.
There's only
But
one
number
left.
one of all time is Ayrton Senna. And if he hadn't been tragically cut short in 1994, he would have set even more records. But he didn't need to set those records for us to see that he was the greatest driver in the history of Formula One. We've never seen anything like it. I don't think we'll see anything like it again.
Didn't you actually report it live when the race was taking place? You had a radio or something you were doing back then, 1994. Tell us about that.
Well, 1994, remember 1996, Netscape comes out, and that's where the internet was born. That's where Mark Andreessen made all of his money, if you know anything about Mark Andreessen, and the great venture capital Andreessen Horowitz he runs now. But we're 2 years before that, and there was a little thing out there called CompuServe, where you could trade information with people around the world. Well, I was trading information with people in Europe as it happened, and then I had an 800 number. I would record these 30-second clips, and you could call the 800 number and get F1 information, right? And it was in the day of, remember the days it was unfortunately you had all those, 1-900, and they were...
You were in the 1-900 business?
No, I was not in the 1-900
I never
business.
knew you were in the 1-900
No,
business.
but we all know what that was.
Everybody spread the rumor. Tom was in the 1-900 business. Is that how you made your money?
And I can see you remember it. So it's like... But yeah, well, back in those days, you dialed 1-900
I have the voice for it.
For horoscopes. There was, remember Miss Cleo? She eventually went to prison or something. But you could have bad stuff, Miss Cleo. Well,
You're
I
really
had
familiar with Miss Cleo.
I had Formula One. She called it 30 seconds, and I updated like 10 times during the race. And there were people calling up, paying 99 cents, $10 to get an update of the race. It was amazing. And I remember the day he died, Imola, Italy. I called it, unfortunately.
What's the date? Was it April 29th or May 1st?
May 1st.
May 1st of 94. May 1st of 94.
Imola, Italy. It's San Marino and Tamburello Corner. You can go there today. If anybody goes to Italy, go to San Marino, go to Imola Racetrack, walk the path by the creek in the back, and there are monuments hidden in the woods, built, nice monuments, marble, that were built by people who were devoted fans and those that appreciated the genius of Ayrton Senna.
Why do you think people loved him as much as they did? Because there's a cult-like following to Senna.
He cared, and he was great. And you find a lot of athletes now walk away from the arena with this snobbish attitude, don't sign autographs for kids, they're just making money. And you don't get the feeling that they cared. You get the feeling that Ayrton Senna cared and played hurt, there's a lot of admiration for football players that have played hurt, and I know there's a lot of negativity around concussions, but we admire our heroes who play with so much passion that they know that they're there and they make a lot of money because of those of us that come to watch. And there are very few people in history that have played with the passion at the high level. And I think Ayrton Senna, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, it's a short list of people who are up there where you say, man, they love what they're doing, they're great at it, and they're passionate, and they're laying it out.
Would you put Hamilton at 6? Or no, Hamilton's top 10? Too early to tell?
Hamilton is number 6 and about to break into the club.
Really?
Lewis Hamilton is going to replace...
He's going to pass Jackie.
No. He's going to replace Alan Prost.
Well, you put Alan Prost at 4. Jackie was 5, right?
Lewis Hamilton's going to go
past both of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a rock star. Okay, Tom, interesting thing you told me once.
He is now tied Prost victories.
He's tied Prost. What is it? 71? 51.
51 career victories. He's tied with
Senna's
Alan
what?
Prost.
41?
Yep.
And 81 poles or 7? How many poles did he take?
Ridiculous.
Senna out of 161, I think he took 50% of them or something like that, right? So one thing you told me that I thought was very, very interesting is one of my favorite interviews I watch online is the last one of Jobs and Bill Gates, where they were in the same room together in those red chairs. If you've seen the one with the red chairs that they're sitting in, you were actually one of the 300 people invited to that, and people came to see that from all over the world. How was it being in that room with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs? What did that mean to you? And tell me a little bit about that experience.
That was pretty amazing. That was at the D conference, which was run by the Wall Street Journal. And if you got an invitation, you could be there. It was very, very hard to get on the waiting list. And I was just humbled and deeply appreciated the fact that I was there. And when Jobs came out to speak, what you didn't know is that backstage there'd been a little bit of drama. And if you look it up on the internet, you can find it. Was, Gates was very upset with Jobs over something, as happened many times in their careers, and he had said, I'm not going to do the interview, unless hell freezes over or something.
Who's
And
saying this? Gates saying he's not going to do it?
Gates made some, and I may be getting it not perfectly right on the quote. And when they were backstage, Jobs comes over and gives him like this bottle of ice cold water, and he made some comment about the comment, and he gave it to him, and it kind of broke the ice between them. They talked, and then he came out and did the interview. And one of the things that really was amazing was the appreciation, but determined competition that was still there. They appreciated each other, but there was determined competition. And he also made jokes about the fact that they were now the two oldest guys in the room, not the two youngest guys that want to change the world. They were the oldest guys in the room now around a bunch of younger guys that want to change the world. And so I thought the perspectives in that interview was just absolutely phenomenal.
What made both of them special in your opinion? What made Jobs special? What made Gates special?
Well, they both knew what they wanted to do. And Jobs knew that when you put the hardware and software together, like Apple does, you control the whole experience. And that's why the Apple experience has always been so perfect. The Mac software and they have the software and the hardware together. Whereas Microsoft Windows says, we're going to make an open environment. And so you take Microsoft Windows and here's a developer kit, go build whatever, build a game, build word processing, build whatever you want. And Gates knew that that was the path to owning the market. And later he would find himself in front of Congress at monopoly hearings, right? And we're not talking about the board game. We're talking about how Microsoft made some bad decisions that they got called out for. And so I think that was the genius of Gates, as he saw, I'm going to build this platform and I'm going to own the whole game. Whereas Jobs was like, wait a minute, I'm going to do something special, right? The experience and everything's going to be special. So you had Jobs, the designer, with the passion to control the whole experience and just deliver it end to end, and Gates, who was the enabler. So you saw a lot of control in Jobs, the genius, and you saw a lot of enablement in creating a massive market in Gates. And that was evident on that stage there, and I think that's what you saw out of both of them. And I would say there is not an ounce of difference between them on how hard they worked or how competitive they were. I think they were dead even. But just how they want to approach the problem. And guess what? We have all this wonderful things on both sides of it that we appreciate and we love.
Who is the next, like modern day right now, if you had to say some of the guys that reminds you of either one of them, who would you say is Jobs, who would you say is Gates today?
Wow, it's hard to say who is Jobs and who is Gates, but
So I don't know if Musk is like them. Like, who categorizes, who's Bezos like, right? Who is...
Well, it's interesting. If you look at Musk and what he's done from end to end on Tesla, and then you look at Bezos, and Bezos, you go online to Amazon and you don't know whether you're buying from an Amazon warehouse or you're buying from some other warehouse run by an independent person. Because Bezos said, wait a minute, everybody's going to come to Amazon. I'm going to sell everything. And I'm going to build the systems to do it. So I think in terms of like an open environment and the systems to allow as many people in the room as possible, that's Bezos. But if you look at the beauty and the genius of Tesla from end to end, that's Musk. And I would think if I'm going to have a fantasy CEO league and I'm going to start with two, the only two that I pick is Bezos and Musk.
Who's three?
There's some people that impress me, right?
Would Zuck impresses you? Sergey, do they impress you?
Travis impresses me at Uber.
Really?
Yeah. You look at what he's doing, and you look, he's delivering food now. You look at where he's going with it. He impresses the hell out of me. And you look, he's focused and he's determined.
So here's another question for you. 5 companies that you see the next decade dominating. 5 companies. If you had to pick 5 companies that you see dominating next decade, who would it be?
Wow, 5 companies dominating next decade.
You think Google's going to continue to dominate and get creative and innovative? Like, you think Facebook's going to keep doing the stuff they're doing? What do you think is going to happen next 10 years with these 5 companies?
Well, I think if you look at the way Google is operating, the way they've, said, okay, we're going to build ourselves an Alphabet and how they're aligning everything out. I think, how do you bet against a data player in the age of data? I don't care how old
so
Google
Google's
is.
on that list.
Google's on that list.
Who else?
Number one for me. And I believe that we haven't seen the end of Microsoft, but they're probably not on my list. I think Uber's going to redefine traffic in major cities.
You don't think Uber's going to be like a Groupon? You think Uber's staying around for 10 years?
Hell no.
Seriously, you don't, because Groupon came. Everybody wanted to be the next Groupon.
Groupon, Living Social, and
right.
now it's like, yeah, you can see those are fads, but you can see the way, Uber is impacting it, right? Yeah.
Why do you think Uber's going to be a 10-year play?
More than that.
You don't think Musk or Google's going to give a run for their money with that? You don't think that's going to be the self-driving cars and all that stuff? Or you think Uber's going to go into that market as well?
Uber's already announced they're ordering self-driving cars. They're doing these. So I've got...
Interesting. Okay, Google. We have Google. We have Uber. Who else?
Yep, Uber. And Musk and Tesla, right? You look at the things he's doing.
Do you say Tesla or do you say Musk? Because
well, I say Musk because do you see what he just announced yesterday on solar? He announced solar roofs.
That's right.
And he just went out there, and so you can see he's applying his technology, and he's not standing still.
So is it Tesla or is it Musk?
It's Musk.
Okay, so you're not betting on Tesla. You're betting on whatever he's a part of.
I'm betting on where he's taking that solar technology and the things that he's working on. Wow,
that's amazing. The guy is so big, he's bigger than the brand himself. First you said Google, 2 you said Uber, and 3 is Musk. Who's your 4 and 5?
Amazon. You just can't mess with Jeff Bezos.
Amazon has 4.
Absolutely. You see the way they're applying their technology. I mean, they were books, now they're video, and now they're, oh my gosh. It's just he's gone so far with the technology he's done, and he's just so smart. And then number 5 is really a space versus a company.
Okay.
Because
tell us.
Online education, and there's 2 reasons for it. Number 1, education is broken. Student loans debt is bigger than credit card debt, which just shocked me. Right when that happened, that was announced a year and a half ago, where like everybody turned and looked at the TV and go, "Wait, what? Can that be right?" And that's reason number 1. And reason number 2, in a fast-moving, changing economy, hey gang, get used to it. Right? You need to retrain. And so the old education of educate once in college and be good for 25 years, gone. You're going to have to retrain, and you need to find methods and locations to get educated along the way. And I believe online education provides hope and promise for people to get retrained for the 5 or 7 mini careers they're going to have, because nobody's working 25 years at IBM getting a gold watch.
So it doesn't sound like a 4-year degree today has the same value as 20 years ago.
No, because you're not going to work 25 years at a single company anymore. You're going to have mini careers. You may have foundations, like I was in marketing, but you're going to add to that.
So let me restate what you're saying. So tell me, see if you were saying the same thing. You're saying an online educational platform where I can go and study the specific skill that I want to learn how to improve, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. That's what you're talking about.
To adapt yourself for the chapters of your career that you're going to face.
Fair enough. Got it. So number 1 was Google, Uber, Musk, Amazon, and online education is what you're talking about.
Yep. And I think we're just waiting to see the giant emerge in online education.
I'm excited about it, Tom. I'm really excited for everybody here to start learning from you, because I can tell you, I've traveled, Tom, you and I have traveled how many places together? We've been all over the world together, literally all over the world together. And every time we're together, it's at a point right now that our team won't even, I just found that this week, we can't be on the same flight anymore, which is a bummer. You and I can't fly on the same flights anymore, which is kind of annoying. But we have very good conversations together because Tom is always bringing up cases from different companies. So I asked Tom, I said, on Fridays, I want you to start teaching cases. When I was at Harvard Business School at the Open program, we were constantly studying a different case every single week, whatever it was. So now you're going to take cases. So tell us what to expect when you start doing your case studies on Fridays. What's that going to be like?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just little stories from companies that you know and love, or you may not love them, but companies you know about. And we're going to take a little part of that, tell you what they did, what happened, and why they did it. And then you can take it and apply it whether you're operating a t-shirt selling website or you're part of a larger company. And the success is going to be people take part of it and said, you know what, I can apply that and I can take it with me.
That's exciting. So can you tell us some of the companies are going to start right off the bat?
Well, we're going to do a whole series, but the first 3 that I've got is Starbucks, Dreyer's Ice Cream.
Dreyer's Ice Cream.
Yep, and then one that's close to my heart because I come from mobile, Nokia.
So we're going to start off with Starbucks, Dreyer's Ice Cream with Nokia on Fridays. Listen, I can tell you this for a fact. Valuetainment has been predominantly myself from day 1 till today. It is not going to be, because I want you as the entrepreneur. I believe, Tom, you and I have talked about this before. I believe 100% of the world's problems are going to be solved by entrepreneurs. 100% of the world's problems are going to be solved by entrepreneurs, and there's a lot to be learned from other companies. So on Fridays, tune in on Valuetainment to BizDoc, Tom Ellsworth, to learn about whatever case he's going to be doing. The first one's going to be going out next Friday. So if you haven't seen it, go to next Friday. Stay tuned. Next Friday, the first one's going to be launched, which is exciting. The first case is which one, Tom? Tell us the first case.
Starbucks.
Starbucks is the first case. So tune in to Tom Ellsworth, BizDoc next week. Paul, let me get my pillow here to get everyone to subscribe. If you haven't, gotta have the pillow. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. My challenge to you is go watch all the other videos on Valuetainment. I will tell you, we believe this is the #1 channel on YouTube for entrepreneurs, and we're just getting started with the content we'll be bringing you around the subject of entrepreneurship. With that being said, if you got any questions, any thoughts for Tom, please comment on the bottom. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.